Superman has always been seen as a symbol of hope. But what if I told you that for some people, he is their last hope for revenge? While Lois Lane desperately tries to find Superman, she uncovers a terrifying secret. The oppressed don't want to be saved. They want him to kill everyone. I'm Andrew the Geek Master, and in today's video, we're diving into everything that happened in Absolute Superman issue number 4. To not miss stories like this one, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and let's get started. The chapter begins with someone visiting all of the Lazarus Corporation facilities that Superman has been to, all located in the poorest areas of Earth. This person tries to gather information about Superman from those he has encountered, claiming it's only a matter of time before Superman accidentally hurts someone, and assures them that she truly wants to help him. When everyone refuses to help, she changes her approach. She tries to gain their trust by noticing that they've all been mistreated by abusive peacemakers. She then hunts down each of these peacemakers and simply uses her authority and skill to teach them a lesson, including breaking the fingers of the peacemaker who put a knife to Joan's throat. And that's when we find out that this person is none other than Lois Lane, who continues to desperately search for Superman. After arresting the corrupt peacemakers, Agent Lane returns to the workers who seem to trust her a bit more. Joan tells Lois that the real reason she's searching for Superman is that she has been changed by being in his presence, and now she can't stop pursuing him. The other workers say they've tried to find Superman but have never succeeded, just as Lois won't either. But what intrigues Lois the most is when they tell her that one day, Superman will no longer be able to hold back his anger over Lazarus's atrocities and will kill them all, and that, in fact, they're all praying for that day. Lois then goes to the site of Superman's most recent battle with the Lazarus Corporation in Pakistan. While investigating the scene, she gets a call from her father, Sam Lane, who criticizes her for going out alone without the protective escort of the peacemakers. He tells her that Superman is too dangerous to talk to, and she should be focusing on trying to destroy him. But she retorts that Superman has already destroyed several tanks worth $1 trillion, yet he hasn't killed anyone. To her, Superman isn't a killer or a soldier. She doesn't believe he wants to harm anyone. Lois also says she needs to earn the trust of the people she's dealing with, and won't be able to do that if she's surrounded by an armed guard squad. Sam, a former general who lost both of his legs in his work, tells her that one of his soldiers also insisted on interacting with the locals alone, and the result was that he was kidnapped and tortured to death by the Omega Men. Lois says she already knows that story, reminding Sam that he made her watch the video of the soldier being killed when she was 12 years old. But when her father asks why she's writing reports instead of using the Brainiac system, Lois simply hangs up. She then leaves on her own to the slums of Orange Town, hoping to draw Superman out. The problem is, she's not truly alone, as two mysterious figures from the Omega Men are watching her from an alley. Meanwhile, at a Lazarus Corporation facility, Christopher Smith, the peacemaker who opened fire on a crowd in Brazil, receives a therapy session, which consists of talking to the Brainiac system, which is actually a real person inside a lab full of bottled cities. Smith is on the verge of an emotional breakdown and admits that he fired at the crowd because he was full of anger from being humiliated by Superman. Miraculously, no one was hurt, and Smith admits again that it was pure luck because his hands were shaking. But Brainiac insists that his weapon was discharged accidentally and that his peacemaker training prevented any civilians from being hit. Smith knows this isn't true. He asks for help and says he needs to talk to a real person instead of an algorithm, but Brainiac simply ignores him and tells him he'll be given a new weapon and sent back into the field to Orange Town, even with Smith begging to be removed from the job. Back in Orange Town, Lois manages to ambush one of the people who had been following her, a young red-haired member of the Omega Men known as Alpha. Lois points her gun at the young man, believing he wants to kill her, to which he not only denies but also warns her that Lazarus is made of lies and that she's on the wrong side. He then triggers a flashbang through his mask to temporarily blind Lois and tells her that he only wants to talk, even though he's pointing a gun at her. However, even without vision, Lois lands a perfect punch to the young man's stomach, revealing that she's been trained to fight without seeing. As the two struggle, Alpha tries to convince her that the Omega Men are trying to save the world and that Lazarus and its director aren't what she thinks they are. Lois refuses to listen, as she doesn't intend to listen to terrorists. Alpha laments that Lois still can't see the truth, even after traveling the world and seeing all the suffering that Lazarus has caused. Regardless, he tells her that her time is up and that she needs to run immediately. And indeed, at that moment, someone starts shooting at Lois, who runs desperately. This person turns out to be Omega Prime, the leader of the Omega Men. Alpha's mission was to recruit Lois, but since he didn't succeed, Omega Prime has come to finish her off once and for all. Seeing Lois in danger, the Brainiac system automatically calls for backup from the Peacemakers, including Smith, who's still wearing his damaged armor from Brazil. While Lois insists to the Brainiac system that she doesn't need help, Omega Prime steps in front of her and cuts her gun in half with her energy sword. Omega Prime introduces herself as Primus and reveals that she's the one who cut off Sam's legs years ago. While the two battle, Alpha points his gun at both Lois and Primus. He asks them to stop, but suddenly, a cloud of red dust is released over the entire street, curving around Lois and knocking the Omega Men down. And yes, this signals the arrival of Superman, making everyone glow with his presence. Clark lands right in front of Lois. Primus steps up to him, saying that the Omega Men are ready to help him in his fight against Lazarus. But then, to everyone's surprise, Clark simply punches her away. Then Superman turns to Lois and firmly tells her to stop looking for him. She says she just wants to talk to him for a moment, when suddenly the Peacemakers show up and take Lois away from Superman, claiming it's a rescue, even though Lois is yelling that she's in charge. The Peacemakers then point their guns at Superman, and Smith asks if Superman remembers him. Clark answers no, and freezes them all with his freeze breath. Seeing this, Lois tries to get closer to Superman before he leaves, but it's too late. Clark quickly flies off, leaving Alpha super excited since he managed to snap a picture of Superman. Lois is completely outraged at the Peacemakers for ruining her chance to meet Superman, and the civilians are incredibly happy to see the authoritarian Peacemakers frozen. As for the Omega Men, they too managed to escape, though Omega Prime is very furious with Alpha for not killing Lois when he had the chance. This is where we find out that Alpha's real name is Jimmy Olsen, and just like in the main DC continuity, he also enjoys taking photos, so much so that he hardly pays attention to Primus while he looks at the pictures he took of Superman. He tells Primus that Lois has a good heart and assures her that she just needs a little more time to realize she's on the wrong side. Finally, Smith, who was freed from the ice, had another outburst of rage and had to be handcuffed and restrained by his fellow Peacemakers. Once he calms down, he asks what happened and what he did, to which the Peacemakers show him a pile of corpses he just killed. And so, Lois Lane continued her search for answers. But what she found might have been a forewarning of Superman's future. If even the most oppressed people in the world see him as the only way out for their revenge, how long until he himself starts to believe that? And what about you? Do you think Superman can hold back forever? Or will one day he finally break and become what he fears the most? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more insane stories like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.